This is part 10 chapter 24 to 26 of What If Naruto Lost His Sight. Link in description. Sorry for not posting. I lost my motivation for a bit, but I am back and ready to post. If you enjoy this what if, then like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Start chapter 24. Blindsided by twice the trouble. Trouble 1. Tilde 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 tilde. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. The next day. I woke up the next morning a little confused. The entire day yesterday had been nothing but terror and uncertainty. By the time the sun went down, I still had no idea what was going on, or why. The rest of the day itself hadn't been too bad. She behaved herself for most of our time out. We mostly just walked around town and chatted about different things, most of which was boasting about pranks and complaining about our Baiju. I'll admit, it was kinda nice talking with someone that was going through the same thing I was. Anyways, everything was pretty peaceful until our prank was discovered. Then we spent the next several hours running from perverts and gardeners alike. It was quite easy to ditch them once we were found out. All we had to do was run through the bookstore, then Ino's flower shop, and we ended up losing quite a few of them due to distractions. The rest we lost by dodging into alleyways and using the old-fashioned hedging technique. Though I will say this, by the time it was all said and done, I'm pretty sure there were a few herbalists added to Jiraiya's fan club. Judging by the fact that several of those books weren't returned to the library immediately. I also noticed a few of the lechers sneaking plants back to their apartments, so I guess everything worked out well in that regard. The sun was just starting to set when we had finally gotten rid of the last of them. We somehow ended up on top the Hokage monument, looking down at the village below. Alright, now this is awesome, she said, staring at the sight with awe at whatever colors the sunset was portraying at that point. Unfortunately, I couldn't exactly join in her amazement since the only thing my chakra echoes would pick up were a few of the taller rooftops. Arigato. You're welcome, I answered, unwilling to admit that we had ended up here at this time purely by accident. I stood there awkwardly, keeping my arms crossed as I tried to keep warm. I could feel the drop in temperature as the sun was falling, which would have been fine if I still had my coat. I used one of my side echo points to glance at Fu, who had said jacket zipped up to her nose while she held the collar in place with both of her hands. She clearly enjoyed wearing it. So, it's getting late, I said, turning off my spare echo point so I was just looking at my shifting feet. And with the sun going down, it's technically the end of the day. Yeah, it is. That means I can go home, right? I asked tentatively. She was silent for a moment, not even moving from her spot for a while. I was just beginning to think she wasn't going to answer at all when she let out a small sigh. I suppose, she answers, not sounding overly happy about it. Okay, guess I'll see you tomorrow then. I had just taken a few steps away when she called back to me. Hey Naruto, she said. I stopped as I glanced over my shoulder to see her facing me now. Within the next few seconds she steps forward and gives me an unexpected peck on the cheek. Good night. I stood there in awe as I tried to figure out what was going on. I was still no closer to an answer when she tackled me, stole my shirt, and darted away while waving it like a victory flag. Even as I laid there the next morning, I still hadn't figured out what was going on. It was just so confusing. Why would she? Before I could continue that train of thought, my watch buzzed, alerting me to the turn of the hour. I ran my fingers over the face of the watch to feel that it was 9 o'clock. I sat up quickly, trying to dart out of my bed in the same motion only to get tangled in my sheets and fall to the floor. I felt the watch again to make sure I was right. It now said 9:01. I was supposed to be there at 8:30. It was going to take me 20 minutes to just get there. And usually more than 10 minutes to get ready to leave. Damn it, I shouted as struggled to get untangled from the sheets. After they finally released me, I darted over to my clothes and tried to get dressed while I turned on my chakra echoes. Unfortunately, it wasn't till I got going that I noticed I was trying to put my pants on backwards and use my boxers as a shirt. Once I got situated wearing my regular pants plus the long-sleeve black shirt that was the only one I had left, I checked my watch again. It read 9:10. I didn't even bother to swear as I ran through the rest of my apartment, stopping only to grab a granola bar from the kitchen before darting out the door. I'm late, I'm late, I'm late, I chanted around my breakfast as I darted across the rooftops. That's when a thought hit me. Wait, why do I care? They'll just blame Kakashi anyways. With a shrug I continued, not quite so panicked as before, deciding I better come up with a pretty good excuse to make up for it. It took another 15 minutes to reach the entrance. I could see everyone standing in the arena already, some of which were looking at their wrists, no their watches. I immediately jumped to the ground and darted through the archway to the arena, only for my foot to catch on a rock, sending me tumbling into the stadium. You're late, I heard Sakura shout from the bleachers as I climbed back to my feet. Well, you see, Konohamaru was upset about not playing ninja with him and set a herd of cattle at me. I said. And where are these cows now? Our proctor asked. He wasn't the same coughing one from the prelims, he was wearing his Hittite backwards and was chewing on a Senbon. Hamburger, I nodded confidently. Before he could comment, a pair of figures appeared shunshuning into the arena. Yo, the taller said. Hi sensei, I said over Sakura's second exclamation. Sorry we're late Genma. Sasuke took too long changing into his unitard, he said to the proctor, blatantly ignored Sasuke's attempts to correct him as he spoke. Congratulations on corrupting your students, Genma said. Naruto just arrived as well. His excuse. Less believable than yours. Nice, I must hear it. But later. There was the sound of footsteps as he walked over to me. First, how many fingers? Seriously sensei, you're checking if I can count, I exclaimed as I pretended to scowl. It wasn't like I didn't know this was coming or anything. No one else got asked that. I questioned Sasuke before coming here. Now, how many fingers? He held a hand up with a couple fingers up. Fine. 3, 5, 2, 6, 8, 15, 24, you're hedging your hand. Good catch. You pass. I glared at him as he no doubt grinned back. Good luck. Thanks sensei. Moving on, Genma said before launching into an opening speech. I stepped into the end of the line as he spoke, only to have to stiffen a groan of despair. My luck couldn't have been any worse, I was sure of it. Hey Foxy, Fu whispered, making me shudder. Like my coat. I glanced at her to see a strange coat on over her bag. It had no sleeves or collar, but other than that it looked kind of like mine. Exactly like mine. In fact it even smelled like mine. There was no mistaking the smell of ramen and fox. Is that mine? Yep. What happened to it? I improved it. You did that to all of them, didn't you? Yep, she said as she took off the jacket and tossed it at me. I struggled to catch it, making Genma stall in his speech. Sorry, I gave a nervous laugh making him shake his head before. I slipped the coat on quietly, zipping it as far as I could, which for some reason it was only to about mid-chest. I'll drop the rest off before I leave, she whispered before analyzing my new wardrobe. Yes, that's better. You should wear a shirt like that more often. It looks very good with the coat. I don't have another shirt like this. Then get more. Why should I? Because I'm keeping the shirts, she sounded almost evil as I sent a glare her way. I'm thinking about making a quilt. Or a really large flag. Will all combatants leave the arena except Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Neji, Genma announced. Wait, I'm first. Yes, you are. Kakashi should have told you a month ago. Sorry about that, the Cyclops could be heard saying from the stands. I must have slipped my mind. How could you forget something like this? You're afraid to fight me, aren't you? Neji's question had no emotion to be found in it. Fate has already dictated your loss, after all. Shut up you, I shouted, turning towards him. That has nothing to do with it. Are you finished? I need to start this match, Genma stated. I opened my mouth several times to say something but couldn't think of anything. Fine, whatever. I really shouldn't be surprised anymore. I stepped into the center of the arena, across from Neji. Are the combatants ready? Neji nodded as I shouted, hell yeah. Fight. You have no chance of winning, fate is on my side. And how much an advantage can you get from a fire extinguisher? I asked, obviously infuriating the long-haired boy. A fire extinguisher? Oh come on, you can't tell me you've never heard of the fire extinguisher of fate. No, he stated as I grumbled, regardless, why would I need a fire extinguisher to defeat you? My strength far surpasses yours. Tell that to Kiba. His little speech was almost the same, well, without the fire extinguisher part. I am more powerful than Kiba. Me too, I said happily. Are we going to fight or just throw words back and forth till someone folds? His eyes narrowed before lunging forward, using his family Taijutsu to obviously try and take me out immediately. I dodged the attack while simultaneously creating several clones to use as shields when he came at me again. Of course, it didn't take long for him to dispel them. As the clones disappeared, I got the distinct impression of foreign chakra being forced into my system, making my arm numb for a moment before it faded away. I was so surprised by this that I barely had time to dodge a palm aimed straight at my chest. That was about when I remembered that something similar happened when I fought Kiba that I had completely forgotten about, therefore never asked about. I dodged another hit before darting across the arena to get some distance between him and I, if only to get a second to think. You're scared of me, I can tell. You haven't even dared to attack me. Think what you like, Neji. But I will beat you. Weren't you listening? You won't win. Sorry, I've had a problem with my ears as of late, I said, using a finger to clean my ear. I've been having trouble hearing overconfident assholes. Before he had a chance to comment back, I created several more clones that charged at him. Those few seconds had been all I needed to come up with a plan, if only a little one. I was hoping to find some sort of flaw in his technique, something that only being hit multiple times by said skill could find. But as each of my clones disappeared, I found nothing. His form was perfect, there was no hesitation in any of his throws, I couldn't find a single opening. He really did earn the title of prodigy. Before all my clones disappeared, I joined the fray. I maneuvered myself behind him to take advantage of what should have been a blind spot. It was a second later that I remembered what Byakugan was when he not only dodged it, but grabbed a hold of my outstretched arm and threw me into my own clones, dispelling all of them. This is pointless. Your fate is sealed. I can see all. Hey Neji, guess what? I climbed to my feet and whipped the trickle of blood off my chin. I know. End of chapter 24. Start chapter 25. Trouble 1. Tilde 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 tilde. Neji looked angry as I focused on my other echo points, opening them up in order to level the playing field. I was still adjusting to my new vision when he charged at me, attacking in a flurry of movement. It was all I could do to dodge them all, let alone keep track of him. The later I was apparently doing a worse job at than I thought I was, since he somehow ended up behind me, poised to strike my spine. I dove to the side, dodging the strike by mere millimeters. I rolled once across the ground before stopping in a defensive kneeling position. I kept focused on Neji as paused in his attack in order to just stare at me. You should not have seen that coming, he stated, sounding confused. You were facing the other way. How did you evade it? Byakugan isn't the only way to see everything. I smirked as I continued talking. At least, not anymore. Impossible, Neji hissed as he charged one again. I climbed to my feet and dodged again, just in time. Not exactly, if you know how to do it. Guess the Byakugan isn't as special as you lead on. In his fury, he attacked again, finally giving me a small opening. With a smirk I sidestepped him before kicking him hard enough to send him flying across the arena, straight into a circle of clones. Half of the clones attacked directly while the others pulled out kunais, aiming them at my opponent. I was a brilliant plan. After all, no matter how much you can see, it doesn't help very much if there's too much going on for you to dodge. Kaden, Neji shouted, surprising me when a spinning wall of chakra deflected my weapons and hid him from view. Before I could react, the wall disappeared and he leapt forward, attacking me once again. Only this time his hits were too rapid for me to count, let alone avoid. But apparently he was able to keep track because he was constantly shouting the numbers during his pauses. I think he called its name too, but I missed it. I ended up flying across the arena and slamming into the back wall with a crack. Do you finally see your place? My jutsu was acting up as he walked towards me, his steps seeming to stutter like a movie that was missing several frames. Neither you nor your pathetic jutsu can hold a candle to me. You are inferior. As soon as my vision stabilized, I began to slowly climb to my feet. Most of my chakra systems were unusable. In fact, I couldn't use any of it except in small amounts, which was all I need to keep my eyes working. What the hell is your problem? I demanded, making him stop as I swayed in place. How are you still standing? I started getting perturbed that he was ignoring my question, and I was getting underestimated again. I'm tough, but seriously, is that stick up? Your ass too tight, or what? Give up. You will lose. Fate has dictated it. Yes, you keep saying that. I brushed off his statement, trying to gain time so the QB could work on getting me some semblance of chakra control back before continuing the fight. I figured if I got him started on a monologue, that would do just fine. But why? The rest of your clan isn't so obsessed with fate. Why you? My fate was sealed by my supposed clan. He yanked his headband off his head dramatically, obviously trying to show me something. I heard some mumbling from behind me, something about a strange seal on his forehead, which was all I needed to hear. Clever pun. Don't you dare belittle me. Don't worry, I just want to know when you were actually going to answer my question. This seal is my fate. It is the fate of every branch member in the Hyuga clan. I hid a smirk as he began what was bound to be one of those really long monologues Jiraiya said they were famous for. This seal is placed on every branch member under the guise that it protects our dojutsu from being stolen when it's actually used to control us. It's used to keep the branch family in line. Just because my father was the second twin, he was placed in the branch family, making it so I was born into it. It is because of this that my father was forced to die in his brother's place. It is. You shouldn't blame fate, or even a single seal for everything wrong in your life, I interrupted, his self-centered monologue already getting to me. If I believed what you did, I wouldn't be who I am today. You know nothing of my pain, Neji yelled. I narrowed my eyes at him, deciding enough was enough. I was going to end this fight now, whether my chakra control was back or not. I shot forward angrily, throwing punches and kicks until one caught Neji, knocking him to the ground. I don't need to. Your pain is nothing compared to some people out there. You might not have your father, but you still have a family. A family you hate, but a family nonetheless. Hinata cares about you like you're her brother, and what do? You almost kill her over something she didn't even do. She's too weak. He's spitting a bit of blood before climbing to his feet. Because of her I lost my father. It was her fault. That was years ago, Neji. My sensei told me about it. What was she? 3. She was a toddler. How could she be expected to fight back? It was obviously that he wasn't listening when he charged at me once again, only this time I was ready for that 64-hit thing he was going to do. As soon as the first undodgeable strike was about to hit, I substitute myself out with a spare clone. Lucky for me, he had no way of stopping the attack once he started it, so even though he knew the real me was gone, he couldn't do a damn thing about it. But I was nice and waited for him to finish his attack before starting mine. Alright, it wasn't to be nice per se, I was more rubbing the fact that he wouldn't be able to have done anything if I had, and judging by the frown on his face he knew it. As soon as he threw his last hit, I leapt forward and punched him right in the face, knocking him into the wall 3 yards behind him, and then tumbling to the ground. When he tried to get up again, I was already there to knock him back down. After that he didn't try to get up again. The only way I knew he was still conscious was from his pained breathing. I dropped to my knee next to him, I leaning close to whispered in his ear, not wanting the whole audience to hear me. "And just so you know, you're not the only one whose life changed from a seal," I said quietly, lifting my shirt to show my own. "This was placed on me the day I was born. I'll leave what it's for to your imagination. I'll only say that my life could have been a lot better without it, but I could have taken it a lot worse. I could have turned out like you." After I finished that, his breathing slowed, most likely because he was finally knocked out. The proctor came over and checked his pulse just to make sure. He nodded, straightening to his feet. "Winner, Uzumaki Naruto," Genma exclaimed. There was a stunned silence before Fu shouted, "Hell yeah," which started a whole ton of cheering from the audience. More than I thought I would ever get in Konoha. I climbed to my feet, stumbling a bit as I smiled. "You good?" Kakashi asked, appearing next to me as medics came to take Neji away. "Yep, I'm great," I dusted myself off as I headed out of the arena. Well, other than a couple of fractured ribs and a messed up chakra system. But the Fox is working on that as we speak. Will he be done by the next match? Depends on how lazy he feels, I answered. Kakashi turned to look at me, probably with some sort of worried expression on his face. "Stop being such a worrier. I can handle myself now. After all, with my healing abilities, I should be the last one you should be concerned about. I'll be as good as new in time for my next match while everyone else will be suffering from exhaustion. And I could seriously win this whole competition because of it. That is quite possible, as long as you're not put up against the tacky girl," Kakashi said, making me freeze in the process. "Speaking of which, did she do that to all of them?" Kakashi motioned towards my jacket. "Every single one," I answered as I pulled at the jacket glumly. "That was awesome," I heard a girl shout as felt a pair of arms flung themselves across my shoulders. It was all I could do keep from falling to the ground. "You totally showed that stuck-up ass what's what." "Thanks for the compliment," I said flatly. "Happy you enjoyed my fight to the death." "Oh, don't be so dramatic." I felt her let go, allowing me to straighten myself up once again. "Was that necessary?" "Nope, but it was fun." She latched onto my arm as the QB and I silently cried in self-pity. "Well, I'll just let you two lovebirds head up yourselves. I'm supposed to be in a different box." "Wait, you're leaving me alone with her?" "You two were alone all day yesterday," Kakashi pointed out. I gawked at him, trying to come up with a response, but before I could, he shinshooed away with only a quick, "Yane. Asshat." "Well, come on Foxy, the next match is about to start and I want to see it." Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. That same time, Orochimaru sat in the cage box, looking quite confused, or he would have if he wasn't wearing the cage's robes and veil. The source of his confusion was one blonde kitsune child. Kabuto had told him that he, in no uncertain terms, had disabled the boy and there was no way he could continue to mess with his plans. But after seeing him destroy the Hyuga, he was seriously starting to doubt this. Orochimaru made a hand motion a second before one of the Suna Anbu dropped down next to him. He leaned closer so that his old sensei wouldn't hear him. "I thought you said you took care of the boy," he whispered tensely as he watched the boy in question chat with his comrades. "I did, sir," Kabuto replied, equally startled. Then why does he fight as if he can still see? I heard that he has been training with your old teammate, Jiraiya. It's possible they found a jutsu to counteract the lack of sight. I have never heard of such a thing. They could have created it. A new jutsu. The disguised Sanin's curiosity piqued. How intriguing. I must see how he does it. He watched with interest as the boy kept a mint-haired girl from lunging at one of the Cage's boys for dropping out before the fight began. Find out what you can about it. That's a pity, the third Hokage stated, breaking the other man from his thoughts. I was looking forward to seeing your eldest son fight. You're not missing much, Orochimaru replied as Kabuto stepped back into the shadows. That's awfully harsh of you. He is your son. When there was no reply, the third cleared his throat and continued. Anyways, I think the next match is going to start. Just as he finished speaking, two girls, one being the mint-haired girl and the other a Yamanaka, pushed one of the next combatants off the balcony and into the arena. Yes, it seems to be, he stated, sending one last look at his new interest before turning his eyes reluctantly on to the next, sure to be, drawn-out match. End chapter 25. Start chapter 26. Trouble 1. Tilde 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 tilde. Luckily Shikamaru's match wasn't as long as his previous one, ending in Tamari getting trapped in his shadow somehow. Unfortunately the shadow had no physical shape so I couldn't see it. All I really saw was him dodging a bunch of attacks until she froze, yelling about shadow jutsus. Apparently it was pretty impressive since everyone else in the audience was in awe, but then the lazy ass had to ruin it by conceding. I don't know who's worse, him or the coward with the cat hat. Ino exclaimed, as I restrained Fu from trying to kill him as well. I'm sure he had a reason, Shino said calmly as Fu was practically foaming at the mouth. The only thing that saved Shikamaru from an assault was his slow speed coming back, and Fu's match being called. About damn time, she yelled, leaping over the railing while almost taking me with her. As it was, I ended up on the ground because I didn't let go fast enough. Get up, Naruto. You're going to miss it, Ino exclaimed. I only grumbled in response as I got to my feet. Shino and Fu were already facing off, waiting only for the proctor to give the go-ahead. Wondering if I could get a better view of the match, I decided to try and tune my chakra echoes to focus on the soon-to-be dueling pair instead of everyone else. Amazingly, it actually worked. By the time Genma said, "Begin," I had concentrated my chakra output to focus only on the arena. It was a pretty cool sight, like looking through a telescope. I saw them charge at each other as if I was still standing in the arena. The fight itself was pretty intense. Fu kept trying to attack her opponent with Taijutsu, but Shino would only fight her for a short time then disengage again. It took me a few of these interactions before I was able to pick up the bugs he was leaving behind. By then it was pretty obvious that he was trying to drain her chakra like his previous opponent. Unfortunately for him, it takes a lot more than a couple bugs to drain a Jinchuriki. I don't even think Fu noticed the bugs as they each ate as much chakra as they could before they each dropped dead. For Shino's part, he seemed to notice something was wrong and tried to change tactics. Instead of being stealthy about the bugs, he created a huge swarm of them and had them surround her. But this didn't work either because after seeing a bunch of their brethren die, the insects didn't want anything to do with her. They would get within a foot and pretty much refused to get any closer. Shino began to seem frustrated, though whether it was from the misbehaving bugs or the fact that Fu was teasing him I'll never know. With my hearing I could just pick up the fact that, for some reason, she was singing something along the lines of, "I'm the bug man, Cuckoo Cacho." Repeatedly. Nanabe put her up to it, QB told me, answering my question before I could ask it. After all, it's not something she would know about on her own. I was just about to ask why when I saw a bright, red flash as a pair of equally red insect wings sprouted from her back. A second later Fu launched her at her enemy at an almost impossible speed. I barely noticed the fact that she finished the fight a few moments after that with a series of quick punches. When Shino fell, her wings disappeared and the color faded from view. What the hell was that? I asked QB silently. Interesting. Mind telling me what is so interesting about it? Your jutsu seems to be able to pick up chakra colors. How the hell does it do that? How am I supposed to know, brat? I wasn't the one that invented it, he grumbled. Then why was some of her chakra red? That's the Nanabe's chakra. Hey, did you see that? Fu said, as she suddenly appeared behind me from my lack of attention. Yeah, it was really cool, I said as I fought the reaction to jump over the railing. Nice wings, by the way. Wings? What wings? Ino asked, while everyone else watched in confusion. Thanks. They give me a speed boost, Fu answered, before turning towards Ino. And they're invisible. After hearing that, everyone turned to me, making me nervous. What? I invented a new jutsu to use against Neji. I just decided to use it to watch the match, I explained. Sometimes I can pick up on stuff better with it than if I watch normally. What type of jutsu? Is it awesome? Can you teach it to me? Fu asked in a flurry of questions. It's like echolocation with chakra waves. Yes, it's awesome. And no, I can't teach you. Ero Sanin thinks I'm the only one able to use them. And why is that? Ino asked. Because I'm awesome. It's more likely that it's because you're an idiot, Ino said sarcastically. You know, I should be offended that you think of me like that, but I have an awesome just you and you don't, so I'm not. Next match, Uchiha Sasuke vs Suna no Gaara. The proctor stated, interrupting our conversation. Oh, a fight, Fu exclaimed happily, leaning over the railing in her eagerness. This one should be good. Better than mine. Well, that redhead out there has some pretty sweet control over sand, but your teammate is still confident, so who knows? You do realize that the only reason he is confident is that he didn't see the Gaara's last match. Neither did you. I heard what he did to the last guy that he fought. Yeah, tragic, she stated simply. He was a pretty cool ninja too. I nodded in agreement as the proctor announced the beginning of the fight. Sasuke charged at the sand shinobi unsuccessfully using Taijutsu against him while Gaara blocked everything using his sand. In fact, as far as I could tell, Gaara wasn't the one doing it at all. It looked more like the sand was moving on its own to keep the boy safe. It didn't take too much longer to realize that maybe Taijutsu wasn't the best option to fight this guy. Out of all those throws, only one of them even got close to making contact, this meaning that it didn't in the slightest. To everyone else it was a hit, but from what I saw with the echoes, Gaara had kept a thin, chakra-coated layer of sand between him and the duck butt's fist. The Suna shinobi didn't even feel a thing. Are you using those echo thingings? Fu whispered to me. Chakra echoes, I corrected, trying not to accidentally lose focus on the match. Yeah, that, she said. When I didn't respond, she continued. Mind telling me what's really going on? I feel like I'm missing something. I'm having a hard time focusing it on the fight as it is. Sasuke won't stop jumping around. Please, she pleaded, no doubt trying to use puppy dog eyes on me. Despite not being able to see her at the moment, I decided to relent, more because I knew that she would continue till I did anyways and not wanting to play the game. Fine, but only when something important happens. You mean like that? She asked, obviously pointing at something. I had lost focus of the fight and, despite watching what was going on, I missed what had happened. Sasuke was now clinging to the empty side of the arena using his chakra and was going through a bunch of hand size while Gaara hid in a sphere of sand. I have a bad feeling about this, I stated as my sensei's Chidori suddenly appeared in my rival's hand. Before I could realize what exactly was wrong, Sasuke charged at his opponent, the Chidori in his hand going right through Gaara's sphere. Within a few seconds there was a loud scream from it as red chakra started pouring out of the hole and swirling around the sphere. Crap, I swore quietly. Fu turned towards me. He's a Jinkyuriki. Seriously? She asked. I nodded. Nanabe wants to know who. Can't she tell herself? It's the Ikibi. The QB wondered. I relayed the message and got a snort for a reply. Ototo 1. Huh, shouldn't be too much a problem for us. We're not fighting him, Sasuke is. Oh, yeah, Fu replied, sounding significantly more worried than a moment before. How long do you think he can last? They watched as Sasuke struggled to get his hand out of the sphere only for a large arm to appear out of the sand and throw him across the arena. Not very long. Well, if Ikibi goes overboard, or most likely when he goes overboard, we'll just jump down there and stop him. And how do we do that? We're genin. We're also have the power of 2 power Biju at our disposal, she pointed out. We do. I only used it once and it took like 10 minutes to convince him let me. Seriously, what can you do then? Just clones and my Ijutsu. Oh, and summoning toads. What were you doing over the last month? Avoiding you, I answered flatly. She thought for a moment before nodding. So what do we do? Before I could answer, the globe fell apart, revealing Gaara kneeling on the ground, holding his wound. The chakra slowed, almost disappearing completely. I tried to tell Fu what happened when I got distracted by pieces of white. In fact, it looked like feathers falling across the entire arena. I stood there, unsure what was going on, why I could see these feathers yet nothing else around the arena, or why just watching was making me tired. I was just starting to think that a nap was a good idea as the Kyuubi began to shout at him. Damn idiot Kit, that's a genjutsu, you moron, he shouted, as I ignored him. I just wanted to go to sleep. I heard him growl in annoyance. Fine, I'll do it myself. His chakra built for a moment before breaking through the genjutsu, waking me up with a start. I immediately restarted my jutsu and glanced around in surprise. What's going on? Quiet. But this whole arena is full of enemy ninjas attacking any Konoha nin that moves. Do you really want them to target you next? I could take them. Just stay down. If the Nanabe has any sense, she would have woken her warden as well, he muttered as I glanced over at Fu, who was snoring. The Kyuubi sighed. Of course, that's too much to hope for. Go wake her up. We're going to need her if Ikibi loses it. Okay, but where is he? Still in the arena. Where else would he be? He answered. I looked over to find the area completely devoid of anyone, let alone the psychotic Sandman. Damn it. Those siblings of his must have took off with him. Sasuke followed him, didn't he? I'd be amazed if he didn't, Kyuubi said with a sigh. You better go save him. On it, I said. I crawled over to Fu, taking a moment to remember how to break a genjutsu before actually doing so. Not the birds. Fu woke up with a start. She tried to shout more, but I covered her mouth with one hand, while motioning for her to be quiet with the other. I was just filling her in on what was going on when Sakura crawled into view, Shikamaru and a small pug in a ninja bandana right behind her. Naruto, time to oh, you're up, she whispered in surprise. We going after Sasuke? I asked. Yes, Kakashi told us to as a mission. Me, you, Shikamaru, and Kaka-sensei's summons Pakun. Me too, Fu exclaimed. I tried to shush her but she didn't listen. It's not your mission, Sakura said, sounding annoyed. So, I'm coming. But you can't stop me. Fine, Sakura relented after a moment, still not sounding happy about the arrangement. Let's just go already. End chapter 26. If you enjoyed this what if, then like, comment, and subscribe for more content. I hope to see you all in the next part of this what if. I'll see you all later. Peace out, people.